And for my great aunt's 95th birthday, but that's beside the point. Just want to let you know that Eleanor Keith turns 95. But anyway, also July 3rd, Mr. Wilson's birthday. And I know you're not 95 like Mr. Poole said you were, so close. You're close, but happy birthday.
Yeah, good looking 95.
Yes, thank you. And last few announcements, I would like to, Mr. David Brock has a short presentation. Mr. Brock, if you would, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council, I'm very pleased to be here tonight to present an extraordinary performance award to one of our staff members, Christina Elmore. Christina, please come up. Christina is one of our animal control officers, and since December of last year, when our other officer went on medical leave, she's been our only animal control officer. She has been working almost 7 days a week. Our animals require care and feeding every weekend day, every holiday. She's been trying to cut back on that incurred overtime by finding afternoons when she can go home early. And this in itself is very deserving, but what has really stricken me is her attitude on the job. It has become so commonplace for me to get phone calls or in-place visits, in-office visits from residents who go out of their way to come in and tell me how compassionate or caring she has been in dealing with their pet. And this may be a pet that's the owner may end up in court with. Just a very recent example, after we got this underway, we had a baby deer that was dropped off at the fire station. Fire staff called Christina in. Christina took the animal home. She fed it goat's milk. She found a individual here in the county that rehabilitates small deer and was able to kind of ensure that the animal was going to have some kind of life. And so the Extraordinary Performance Award is qualifications are going above and beyond the duty and preserving the property of our residents, and any of you that are pet owners know that they feel very strongly about their dogs and cats. So we have for tonight, Christina, a plaque for your Extraordinary Performance Award and a gift card for $500.
Oh, wow.
That is definitely extraordinary. We did see the picture of the deer. It's quite cute, and I'm glad that you got it out of the fire officer's hands, because I'm not sure what Dwayne would have done with it. He's not here to defend. You are here to defend yourself.
We fed it milk and lettuce right out of the bag.
Fatten it up.
Yeah. Christina, is that the right diet for a deer?
Maybe when it's a little older.
There you go, Chief. Now we can hammer
They
it.
did the best they could.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you very much for all your work. We certainly appreciate it. Let's see. On the citizen participation, anyone wishing to speak to anything not on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, sign in, and give us your best 3 minutes. Yes. Thought we were in trouble there for a second. Line out the door. All right. Seeing none, citizen participation closed. Moving on, would like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Motion second.
Can you separate the items? Or there are 2 items on there? Or am I incorrect? I want to abstain from the first and go on the second. If you don't want to do it, I'll abstain from all. That's fine.
Motion to approve item number 1 on the
Okay, well, let's do this. How about a motion to approve item number 1 on consent agenda?
Motion.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carries 501.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve item number 2 on the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you very much. On the financial report, welcome Mr. O'Donnell. Please give us an overview.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. This will be brief as per second meeting of the month. We're usually talking about sales tax collections, and everyone has their report, I trust. I touched on this a little bit at the last meeting in that even though we had a weak April, we rebounded with a strong May. $209,936 for general sales tax and $26,241 for the fire sales tax, and I think that pretty much came from the fact that usually quarterly sales tax filers will file by April 30th to remain timely, which means Department of Revenue doesn't get the money until May. And I think I should also touch upon the fact that the numbers that you're seeing represent what was collected by Department of Revenue in that particular month, which was then remitted to us in the following month, so that $209,000 came into our bank account this month. So, just to be clear on that. So, as you can see, and then we've been pretty steady with our motor fuel tax, $32,790 for May, and each month it has been greater than its counterpart in 2014. I await your questions.
Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. O'Donnell on the financial report. Mr. Clickenbeard.
Thanks for answering some of my questions earlier today. I had the one, when do you expect the next check-in so that we'd have a full 6-month first half of the year picture?
Usually, we usually get it via regular mail from Department of Revenue by about the end of the first week, so like about the 6th, 7th of the month.
Okay.
What I can do is find out. I can usually probably give them a call right after the first of the month and see if they have a figure before they put it in the mail. See if that will help matters any.
I just see that last year our largest intake was that June check or June month that we don't have yet, and it was the highest month of the year. So that comes in even 20 or 30,000 below. It could knock out what we're ahead for the year. So it'd be nice to see what that would be, just to get a full half-year picture.
Right, and as we talked about, unfortunately I did not have a chance to contact Department of Revenue today to see if we could get a partial figure. I'll see if I could try and get a number tomorrow.
It's not a big deal. It was for a later agenda item, more or less, so I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Additional questions, comments, discussion for Mr. O'Donnell. Seeing none, need a motion to approve financial report.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Appreciate that. Reports from staff, Mr. Derrickson?
No, sir.
Mr. Krischke?
No, sir.
All right, future community events. Welcome, Mr. Keeley.
Thanks, sir. I do want to take a minute to introduce everyone to Ms. Alexandra Wilkshire, or Alex. She's been with our department since about the middle of May. She's interning with us for the summer and is doing a tremendous job. An area of focus has been planning for Have a Blast. So she's been doing a really good job for us.
Welcome, Alex.
Future community events for the remainder of June into July. Now through July 17th is registration for Cheer Republic. That's for girls or boys in grades 3 through 6. Now through July 22nd is Arthritis Foundation Exercise Program. We offer that program on Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m. at the Republic Community Center. June 25th, that's this coming Thursday, is Senior Movie Day at 3 p.m. The movie is Black or White with Kevin Costner. It's a free event, free popcorn and coffee to all those that attend. This coming Friday, beginning at 6 o'clock and going until approximately 10:15, is our 19th annual City of Republic Have a Blast celebration. I just want to give a quick rundown of the events. Hopefully, obviously, everybody will see you out there, but this is for the television audience as well. From 6 to 7:40 p.m., our opening band, Innuendo, will be playing on the auxiliary stage. From 6:30 to 7 p.m., the Fishing Magicians will be performing live at the AMP stage. From 7:40 to 7:45, we'll be offering a patriotic skydiving expedition by Skydive Missouri. From 7:45 to 7:50 is the Mayor's Welcome and our national anthem by Mrs. Amy Selby. And Mrs. Selby is a Republic resident. From 7:50 to 9:45 is the Mark Chapman Band. From 8 to 8:30 is once again is the Fishing Magicians at the Amp. And then approximately 9:50 to 10:10, 10:15, we'll have fireworks by AM Pyrotechnics with music by the Republic Community Band. So looking forward to it. Hopefully the weather will be all right. It's a little sketchy right now, but I think it'll be okay.
Did I get you right? The fireworks will be around 9:45 or 50 again?
9:50.
Okay.
We try to get that right on the money in case people plan on it. So.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Todd Academy, it's for ages 2 to 5. That's from June 26th through July 17th. It classes at 10:30 or 12:30. And lastly is Republic Night at the Springfield Cardinals is scheduled for July 17th. Tickets are on sale now. The deadline date is June the 26th.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it. Board Commissions and Committee schedule. Board of Adjustments, July 2nd. Capital Improvements, June 24th. City Council, July 13th and July 27th. And Planning and Zoning is July 20th. On to old business.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
that Capital Improvement Committee meeting is at 2:45.
2:45 on the 24th, correct? Okay, fabulous. Thank you for the update, sir. Mr. Carter?
Yep.
On old items, old business and tabled items, I'd like to have a motion to have the second reading of bill number 15-13.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, annexing approximately 2.36 acres owned by Kirk Works LLC, located at the 7200 block of West Farm Road 170 in Greene County, Missouri.
I think I'd like to have a motion to have final reading of bill number 15-13.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. Welcome, Mr. Tyson. Give us the overview, sir.
Thank you. This bill will annex the property that Brenda just mentioned in reading the title. This particular property does not contain any existing buildings. It does contain an existing detention basin, which serves the commercial building directly to the west, as well as serving this site that's the subject of this bill here. The property is located within Greene County's General Commercial C2 zoning district, so upon annexation it will be located within the city's C2 zoning district. It will also be located within the city's commercial overlay district, which will regulate the type of facades and fencing that can be used on the property. The property does have access to municipal water and sanitary sewer services already, and staff is recommending approval of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Tyson. Mr. Harder?
You did say that the entrance to this property will still be off Farm Road 170?
As of right now,
As
that
of
is
right
the
now.
case.
Is there any way that that entrance can come off 60?
There is a way, yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Additional questions, comments, discussion. Anything at all? Mr. Wilson?
Are they planning on eventually making it accessible to 60, or is it going to stay on Farm Road 170, the entrance and exit?
I believe there is a plan to pursue access from US Highway 60, yes, sir.
Will MoDOT allow them to do that?
I've not seen anything formal or official from MoDOT on that front. I don't know, Rick, do you have something in writing from you?
Preliminary.
Does that answer your question?
Additional questions, comments, discussion. Anything at all? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Harrelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Poole?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashear?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Clinkenbeard?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. On to the next item, need a motion to have the second reading of bill number 15-14.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute a surface transportation program STP urban agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for a street inventory and pavement conditions assessment.
We must have final approval, bill number 15-14.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Welcome, Mr. Brock. Give us the overview, sir.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This agreement makes up to $40,000 in federal highway funds available for the city's use for inventory and pavement condition assessment. Essentially, the assessment will consist of a physical inspection of every block of city road. Any defects will be cataloged and ranked based on severity, and those results will be provided to us in a format that fits into our mapping and asset management system. From there, that information would be used to prepare or update our long-term street resurfacing program.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Brock. Mr. Harder?
The time frame on getting this information back if it passes? The time frame on getting the information back?
We would hope to be able to implement the final results, a new pavement plan in 2017. We would expect that we'll spend the remainder of this year just with the contractor doing their portion of it, and we would essentially miss the fall season for budgeting on 2016.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wilson?
Will this also include the former village of Brookline?
Yes, and that's one of the areas we had a similar, some similar work done in 2002. Brookline probably represents the largest expansion of our street inventory. We've had a few small subdivisions in the most recent years, but that would be a significant portion of the new roadway, sir.
Additional questions, comments, discussion? Anything at all? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Klinkenberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole, Councilmember Harrelson,
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. On the next item, I'd like to have a motion to have the second reading of bill number 15-15.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission for directional signing on U.S. Highway 60 and State Route P.
I'd like to have a motion to have final passage of bill number 15-15.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion is second. Mr. Brock, give us the overview, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Another agreement through MoDOT and the Highway Transportation Commission. This one is governs or allows the city to install directional signage on state highways, specifically U.S. Highway 60 and State Route P, and the agreement covers 3 installations, 2 signs for the police and municipal court complex, and 1 sign that allows directional signage to the community center and aquatic center. We presently have 1 sign that's down that needs to be reestablished for the police department, but the agreement would cover future terms or if the other signs were had to be replaced.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Brock? Anything at all? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Harrelson,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole, Councilmember Harder,
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Klinkenberg,
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. On the next item, I'd like to have a motion to have the second reading of bill number 15-16.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the mayor of the City of Republic, Missouri to execute an easement to the benefit of the Board of Education of the Republic R3 School District for telecommunications line across J.R. Martin Park.
I'd like to have a motion for final passage, Bill number 15-16.
Second.
Motion is second. Mr. Brown, you'll see overview, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This easement is a result of our cooperation with the school, part of their construction of the new transportation facility. They need to extend a fiber optic line to tie that into the school's network. They are not in a position to go out and compete with AT&T fiber optics or Empire's fiber optics, or now some of the other buried utilities out there, and the final arrangement here would be a private easement adjacent to an AT&T fiber optic line across J.R. Martin Park.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments, discussion from Mr. Brown?
Just
Ms. Wilson?
the language here, when it says across J.R. Martin Park, actually it's a frontage of the park, right?
It is. Picture this, you have the right-of-way line.
Right.
We have a pedestrian easement where the sidewalk's located.
Right.
We have AT&T's easement behind the sidewalk, and then we have the school. Now, if this were a commercial property and that first 20 feet was very valuable, we would not have suggested this alignment here. But being a park facility, the fact that they're going to bore under all the existing paved areas, driveways, sidewalks, we think this is the best long-term approach. I do want to make one other mention. For the fiber optics for the bus facility, they'll cross the road at their new entrance. If you've seen that entrance that's under construction there on Hine Street. This easement runs the full span of J.R. Martin Park. And the purpose of that is to encourage them to decommission another fiber optic line that they have that runs through the middle of the park.
Right. So it's going to be, it's not going to be between the sidewalk and the road, it's going to be on the south side of the sidewalk?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Answer your question, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, it does.
Okay, Mr. Clinkenberry?
I assume that they'll be under the same, I guess, restrictions or guidance or whatever that the other utilities are as far as hiring subcontractors and how they perform the work and returning things to, like new condition, all that kind of stuff.
The terms of the easement, they have to restore the ground to as good or better condition. We've had very good discussion and cooperation with them on their other contractors, and I wouldn't expect this to be any different.
And I assume
The contractor is John's Road Boring, and they're quite experienced at this type of work.
they're not going to start before Friday, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Part of the agreement.
That'd be a mess. Yep.
Additional questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Clinkenberry.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Councilmember Poole. Councilmember Harrelson.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. On other business and resolutions, resolution number 15-R-38, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to dispose of surplus city vehicles in accordance with city policy. Would like to have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Kreisky, give us the overview, sir.
Okay, we have 3 vehicles that we need to dispose of. You can see in your exhibit, one is an old 1997 Ford van. It's actually an old ambulance that the police department had utilized for years as their SWAT van or emergency vehicle. That vehicle currently is not operable, and as you can tell by the exhibit, the cost to repair that is in the actually a little higher than that, $1,300 to $1,800 range to repair that vehicle. The other two vehicles come out of the Public Works Department, a 2004 Ford Ranger and a 2000 Dodge Ram with a snowplow. We're asking for council permission to dispose of those. More than likely, the 2004 Ford and the 2000 Dodge Ram will go to the auction. The 1997 Ford van, we're looking at options to be able to surplus that in another means. Potentially looking to go out for bids for that, because there are a couple of businesses that could actually utilize that type of a vehicle, so we may look at a different means to try to dispose of that.
All right. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Kuski? Anything at all? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. On the next item, resolution number 15-R-39, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving a cost of living adjustment, COLA, for all full-time and permanent part-time employees. I'd like to have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Welcome, Mr. O'Donnell. Give us the overview, sir.
Before I begin, I would like to defer to Mr. Krischke. I believe he wanted to make some opening remarks.
Yeah, we're tag teaming this, as you can guess. Angela just moved up too, because she has some information. But this exhibit, and I'll let John go over all the financial information and answer questions, but this primarily is follow-through to what was discussed at the budget meetings back last fall with regards to salary increases for all city staff meaning full-time and permanent part-time employees. This was going to come before council, obviously, at the middle part of the year. We've done a financial review, and John can go through the numbers. This is for a COLA increase, a potential COLA increase that would go into effect the first payroll period in July. Not to confuse the COLA increase with the step and grade, which was also approved by council to reinstate at the last budget meetings in our budget for 2015. So what's in front of you is the option to be able to approve a cost of living increase for city employees, and in your packet you'll see a spreadsheet that will show you different COLA adjustments all the way from a 0.5% to a 3%. As our review is focused in on the 1% or 1.5% is probably the most logical option to consider. And with that, I'll leave it to John to go through the financial numbers.
Thank you, Jim. I'll just simply go over the bullet points themselves. As everyone knows, our general 1% sales tax revenues hit the $2 million mark last year, which was a 9% increase over the previous year. General fund revenues were up 4.8% versus previous year, and revenues amongst all departments 5.42%. And then citywide expenses, 14 versus 13, was fairly flat at less than 1%. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that in reviewing those numbers, we had to be sure we were comparing apples to apples and removing what I will call extraordinary items, such as the expenditures to construct the AMP, which turned out to be about $562,000 right there. There was some additional revenue items, such as I believe we had some 9/11 reimbursement money in 2013 that was no longer there in 2014, so that also had to be taken out of the equation. And I think we also had $600,000 in lease proceeds that went toward the fire trucks that also had to be removed. So taking the raw data, taking out those extraordinary items, gave us an apples-to-apples comparison that gave us these percentages. Moving forward, calendar year 14, we had a surplus of over $312,000 and in the general fund, and $937,000 plus overall. As we discussed before, looking at general sales tax revenues, we are up 5% January through May of 15 versus the same period in 14. And again, expenses are are running pretty much in line or slightly lower than budget projections, and we are continuing to monitor this going forward. I also would like to, just as a side note, commend department managers and staffs because it's their day-to-day duty to try and determine what are necessary expenditures, trying to keep it in line with the budget, such that we are able to have surpluses and are able to discuss a COLA increase tonight. So I do want to, show a little love for their hard work during all this time as well. As Jim said, based on the numbers, based on our projections, we feel comfortable that the 1.5% salary increase at maximum would still be absorbed into the budget. We can still handle it, and since we have not had a COLA increase in quite some time, I think it's high time we went ahead and did it. We've also given for council's review, as he said, the various numbers for the various increments. So we would say definitely a 1%. We would love to see a 1.5%. I think the city budget would be able to be comfortable with those numbers.
Thanks, sir. Questions, comments, discussion. And before we get started on that, just want to point out one particular item. In this particular exhibit, there is an area for percentage. So have all discussion that you want. However, at the end, we're going to need a motion to insert a percentage, whether what you want to choose as a COLA increase, if you want to choose a COLA increase. So.
And before we begin that discussion, Angela also has some additional information with respect to other cities' practices along these lines.
In looking at looking at giving a COLA increase, we like to send out information and see what other cities are doing that are the same size, same revenue. We did send that out, and what we found is either they're giving a COLA increase, or they're giving a merit increase, or they might be giving a little combination of both. And the average was between 2% and 3% overall that they were giving their staff for 2015. There were only, out of who we received responses from, I think two cities that were not giving any increases at all. The rest of the municipalities were giving increases.
Questions, comments, discussion, either from Ms. Heatherly, Mr. O'Donnell, or Ms. Krischke. Mr. Harder?
When you did your comparison with the other cities, where does Republic fit in with the salaries? High, low, medium?
You mean the median salary?
Yes.
Well, now I'm getting ready to I'm in the middle of doing my salary survey, so I can answer that. As far as salaries, I didn't ask for specific salaries because that's going into my salary survey, which will be complete probably another 45 days or so. What we specifically asked for was just, if you are giving increases, what's the percentage, and is it a COLA, or is it a step, or is it a merit? That's the only information we asked for. We didn't ask, because we are doing the salary survey.
Okay, thank you.
And just on top of that, we're required to do a salary survey every 3 years. 3 years ago, we did do a salary survey, and that survey result, that was pre-Angela, but that survey result had shown that we were within 1% of the median average salary within this area per position.
Higher low, 1% higher low.
We were actually a little bit on the lower side, and I do believe that we adjusted our salaries. We adjusted the salary step and grade to accommodate that, and that was built into what we had given that year for an increase.
Okay.
So we did make the adjustment 3 years ago, and that was part of what we allowed for an increase.
Great, thank you very much.
Mr. Blankenbeer?
Regardless of whether this passes or not, employees will get a 1.5% raise July 1st, correct?
First pay period in July,
because
this all is on the step and grade plan, and I say that only because as long as your performance appraisal meets is satisfactory, then of course then you would get 1.5%, yes.
Sure. So regardless of this, people that are performing their job will get a salary increase. I say that just so that it doesn't look like if this were to go down or be postponed or whatever, that they are not getting something. That would be the high end of what we've given them. I think over the last 3 years it's been between 1 and 1.5%, if I remember correctly, that we've done mid-year. My concern I mean, I have no problem with rewarding staff for, doing those types of things, but there's a couple of trend lines that I see. One of them is that last year, June was our highest intake of the year. This year it was May already, and we could easily erase the 5% we're over if we're even, I think it's about 40,000, but about 30 or 40,000 below that, which would just make it an average payment that would come in. I can see that very easily happening for our check that would come in at the beginning of July. The other trend line I see is on the motor fuel tax, which is almost level all year long. We don't go up and down like we do with sales tax. It's pretty predictable. We're not in a tourist town, so it's mainly people fueling up to go to work, obviously. But that started out in January being 9% over. This past month it's 3.5% over, and every single month that it was decreased. If that trend line continues through the year, we could end up, and we're only at 5% on average now, that could end up being down either below water or at even. My recommendation, since they're already getting something on the 1st and something I'd ask you guys, is if we tabled this until a meeting, either the 1st or 2nd meeting in July, can we always retro it to July 1st once we see these June numbers come in and make sure that this trend is continuing? Because when we do this adjustment, it's not only for this year, but it continues on into the future.
And just the only thing I'll say on the 7th grade, it is effective for only full-time permanent employees. It does not affect the permanent part-time in which the COLA would impact.
Sure.
So we would need to, we have to make sure that
Right, and I don't mind
it's
reviewing it.
communicated.
If I have to make my choice tonight, my choice would be unfortunately to go no, and I may be in the minority there. I'd be all in favor of doing it once we get past the 6-month part. We need one more month. I think Mr. O'Donnell said we'd have that probably in the first week or two of July, which would be easy to make that 1st or 2nd meeting. If we tabled this, would we be able, and approved it at a later time, would we be able to go back and still make it effective on the 1st of July? Is that something we can do? Or make it effective August 1st?
Our pay cycle, or how we set it up, is we don't do it just like effective July 1. We put it on the first paycheck.
You've got to pay for work
As
it's performed.
Right.
You can't go back and pay for work after it's been.
Then my question is, if I tabled it to the 13th, if that happened, and we approved it then, how would that, would it have missed one check basically? Is that all we would miss, or how would that affect it then?
Our first paycheck
Probably
in
should.
July is July 9th, and so the next one would not be till 23rd.
So there'd be one check that they could miss 1% on, which would be a pretty small amount.
It'd be 2, because your meeting doesn't happen
We
until
can't put it in the middle of a pay cycle.
Okay. Well,
And then, let me just clarify one thing
Sure.
about the motor fuel tax. That's not a Republic tax that is not dollars that we receive from just our fuel tax. That is actually paid out statewide. The money's collected statewide and then divvied up on population. So, if the overall fuel tax for the state is down, then that's why our number goes down. If the overall fuel
Sure.
tax for the state is up, then it is up. So it really is not based on who's buying gas here, it's who's buying gas.
it's a trend line on the state, and
Yeah, it's a state
and
trend.
if I want, if you want to throw in other trends, last month was the highest foreclosure month in 2 years. Things in the economy are going the other direction. I just see that June last year, $209,000 we brought in last year. Or $214 during the June check that we'll get here in a couple of weeks. We just took in $209 on our last one. It was the highest of this year. I could easily see that evening back out a little bit and us being below, which would put us very little over. I'd like to see it. It's up to other people. I'll let it go to discussion before I throw a motion on the table.
But, and to your point, Mr. Peckenberry, there's anomalies in every year that you go back to. If you go back to 2011, the highest month was August. You go to 2012, the second highest month is August. So, and then you go to 2013, the highest month is August. So, really, you can pull the trend however you would like, but just I understand.
We're basing our first half of the year on us already having the highest amount of any month, even of almost the last 4 years. We pulled in $209,000 last month. That may have been our high water mark.
Well,
I will respectfully beg to differ, because if you take it over the past 6 years, it has steadily risen. Granted, I think we're seeing, Jeff and I are seeing different sample sizes. I think he has his concerns, and I respect those. However, when we take a look at the overall trends and considering that we have been pulling out of the dive that was called the 2008 Depression. And as far as I can see the trends from my side of the fence, I think we will still continue to grow along those lines. Whether the June check is higher or lower just simply depends on how well the Department of Revenue collects their monies. And that's part of the issue there, and an issue of timing. However, I look at the long view, and I see that we will still hit $2 million in 2015, so do me a favor, buy Republic, okay?
At 1.5%, we're already at the highest we've given them in the last 3 years. I have no problem with rewarding them or catching up. Cost of living for senior citizens that are in wards here that we represent, they got a cost of living, I think it was either 1.5 or 1.7% is what Social Security went up this year. That at least maintains, if you want to look at what cost of living is, their increases will be in that area. I don't have a problem giving more, I just think I need more data to be able to prove that. And citizens can easily say, hey, our expenditures didn't go up. That can be ruled as, hey, that's great. Another person could say, well, if we had this extra money, why don't you pave my street with that extra $20,000 this year instead of giving employees double the raise? And I'm just throwing out what I'll hear, not that that's necessarily a wrong opinion.
Additional comments, questions, Council? Ms. Poole? Then I'll get to Mr. Bashir.
I can't see, Jeff, how from now till the 13th of July would make that much difference. And I feel like that we owe it to our employees when we have the money to do it, to do what we do for them. I don't care what department or where. I do say that when we check with a lot of other places, a lot of our employees are underpaid. And if we can give them a raise, I think we need to do it.
Mr. Bashir.
Of course, another way to look at it too, if the May payment was the highest we've had so far, and that's the prelude to what the next month will be, maybe even higher. I mean, it's, over the years I've dealt with so many salary schedules, and it seems like it's always, and Jeff, I'm not downing you at all here.
No.
Please don't take it wrong. But there's always a reason on some people's parts not to pay employees. I'll tell you, I don't care if it's a private company, if it's a school, or if it's a city, your most valuable thing you have in that organization is an employee. You can have one disgruntled employee, I don't care which one it is, from the highest to the low, and it can do all kinds of damage with the quarter and the function that a city has. So I know we can't pay money that we don't have. I mean, don't get me wrong, the sky can't be the limit. But to put off, to postpone, that's not a good, to me, it's not a good message to give employees.
Once again, we're giving them 1.5% July the 1st. It's the highest, matches the highest we've given them in the last 3 years. I value the employees too, but you can look at it as a citizen. Hey, you had one good year as a surplus. In business, you have one good year as a surplus, and they go out and they buy their Ferrari, and the next year they're out of business. I just think you got to have a little more data and be prudent before you. We're looking at possibly doubling that increase just based on, a good year. I'm just looking at, obviously I'm taking the devil's advocate side, and 1 month may not show any data at all. If that month comes back and it's 50,000 lower than last year and we're negative 1% on our sales tax revenue, does that not make you think, ooh, we're halfway through the year and we're below last year? That would make me alarmed.
But in the next month, it may be August.
That's true, and you can go on forever. Like I said, right now we're top.
The crystal ball that no one has.
Ms. Harrelson, go ahead.
I think we're talking about glass half empty, glass half full, but how many part-time employees do we have?
Permanent part-time?
Yes. Maybe as a percentage opposed to...
We probably have 9 or 10 permanent part-time.
Okay, so they don't get any increase?
If council chooses not to approve a COLA increase, they are not on a step and grade. They are just set out, we hire our permanent part-time just on an hourly wage, not on a step and grade. So no, they are not eligible, or only eligible for any COLA increase that may come into play.
How many years did we go before the last 3 years where they got nothing?
I think there was it was two, I think.
It was more than two.
It was more than two.
Was it?
The only thing I will speak from a human resource perspective, I look at anything that you choose to give the employees as an investment. They've worked hard when maybe no increases were given, and they're still working hard. And in my opinion, if you invest back to where, you are, you're going to continue to grow, because we are finding ways to work smarter and not harder. We're improving the positions that the mayor's challenged us to. We're upgrading, we're working, and we are being smart, and that is coming and cutting with our expenses because we're working smarter. And that is for the department heads that have all come together and helped do that. So from my perspective, even if it's a 1% COLA, you're investing in them, and it's a little boost of morale that will go a long way. That's just, my...
Mr. Quickenberry.
I have one more question that's in the mix here is that, 1.5% was the last year, I believe. How much did the loggers cost us? Because we also gave them additional loggers for those people who are going to be using retirement. Do you know what that would equate it into a percentage of income?
Into the percentage of I do.
As an employee, obviously that's a benefit to them too, correct?
Correct, it is.
That was amortized over a 20-year period. So it's, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it wasn't an enormous percentage. Less than what a 1% increase would have been for a salary increase. So I have to go back and get the exact number, but it is amortized over a 20-year period of time.
Mr. Wilson.
The way I look at it, he's in charge of our lifeblood, the cities, and if he says that we can afford the 1 to 1.5% for at least the next 2 years, it's all right with me. Well, that's what it is.
No pressure, John.
You said bet on Republic, so I'll tell you what, I'll make a motion for 1%.
I have a motion for 1%. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second for 1%. I need to vote. Yep. Okay. I have a motion and a second for 1%. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Motion fails 2-4. Okay. And we're at the point where we're still...
I make a motion for 1.5%.
I have a motion. I have a motion and a second for 1.5%. All in favor of 1.5% say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Motion carries 5-1 on 1.5%. Now, that has been inserted into the document. We still have discussion on that. We still have open discussion. Additional questions, comments, discussion on this particular item, now that we have a percent set in the ordinance, or resolution, I'm sorry.
I'll just make a statement. My vote will not be because I don't want to give employees a raise. I just want the time for more data, because I will be a no.
Yes, sir, we understand. Additional questions, comments, discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-1 to 0. Thank you very much. That's good discussion, Mr. Quickenbeard. Do not think that your comments fell on deaf ears. You have a right to your opinion, and we appreciate that. And it's always very well thought out. So
I've been in the business way too long to think one mayor a year is the way to go.
On the next item, resolution number 15-R-40, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic of Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into negotiations with Civic Plus for development of a new city website. Would like to have a motion.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion, and Mr. Krisky is going to give you an overview, sir.
Okay. This has actually been on the table, or at least with the IT committee, since August, September of last year, when we started the process, we distributed an RFP to firms that are qualified and interested in development of and hosting of a new website for municipalities. So we did get a number of very qualified responses to the RFP. We did review those and narrowed it down to 3 what we felt were good potential fits for the City of Republic. Interviewed and saw like a webinar demonstration of each of their products. Narrowed it down to 2 companies at that particular point in time, Civic Plus and, Jeff, what's the other name, if you don't mind?
GovOffice.
GovOffice. I always get the names confused. And then those 2, we had invited them back, gave an additional presentation to the IT committee, which also represented many of our other departments. We had representatives there from other departments that especially use the website, either to reach out to their customers or to provide service to customers. So after the 3rd review of these different companies, it was unanimous from the committee standpoint that Civic Plus would be the company that would provide the best services to the City of Republic. Civic Plus, for your information, is a nationally known company. They do a very good job developing all different types of websites. They offer a large variety of services. Some of the things that they do very well is to provide information to the public, where they have a little section that you can request data, and if you sign up for that, you can get anything you want, from park information to street closures to anything that's happening in the police or the fire department. So there's a lot of different services that they offer. This simply is nothing more than just a negotiations with Civic Plus to come back and get their best pricing for the development of a new city website. There's a lot of information and data that would need to be transferred to the new site. Springfield just signed on with Civic Plus, actually a year and a half ago. It took them a full year to implement the new website by the time they got done with their design. I can't imagine we would take as long as that, but however, it could take up to 6 months before we get anything, so it's not something that would happen overnight. But this would be the first stage, is to get a price, bring that back to City Council with a number associated with all the different services that they would offer.
Thank you, and I'm going to, Mr. Klinkenbeer, thank you. You've done a lot of work on this with Civic Plus, a lot of research on it. From the IT committee, you and Mr. Mendez are on the IT committee. Would you like to add anything from the IT committee standpoint to what Mr. Krischke has already given us?
I don't think so. I can maybe answer questions, but we have been very thorough. The last webinar, I kind of set it up where we turned the tables on the different companies. The first round, they came and pitched us and sold us their particular product. So obviously they could come in shining and had it off their little sales pitch all polished up and ready to go. The second one, I turned the tables and we sent them photographs and press releases and things from each of the departments that were there. So Mr. Keeling came in from Parks and Recreation. We had Ms. Moeller come from administration to do like what she would post as a press release, and Ms. Jackson here as city clerk gave them an agenda from a real city council, and then we had them take 15 minutes and perform that person's job duties, and I just sent them that information so that they had a Word document and the photos, and they had to show us with their engine how they would put all that stuff up on the web. And it allowed staff to see, how they would use it, how easy it was to use, and it actually kind of reversed the roles. One of the companies that was kind of ahead ended up being behind. They were both close because they couldn't be polished or have it practiced ahead of time, and it kind of gave us a real-world idea. But I think Civic Plus is by far the way the committee wanted to go, and I would suggest that we pass it.
Questions, comments, discussion? Anything at all? Before we go, I want to thank Mr. Klinkenbeer. You've done a great job of pushing not only the website forward, but also third-party management and getting you and Mr. Mendez together with Jim, and I appreciate you guys put a lot of work in, and I know how many meetings you've had.
Thank you. I know Jason would love to be here tonight. He always says, hey, I'd like to be there, go for it. So we appreciate Jason's work too.
I see that.
Thank you.
I will thank him when he gets back. All right, with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. On the next item, resolution number 13-R-41, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri. I'll start that one over. See a little scribbler right there. Let me read that over. Resolution number 15-R-41, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Midwest Public Risk for property and liability insurance for fiscal year 2015 or 2016. Would like to have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Krisky gives the overview.
Okay, and I first will apologize for our brokers from Gallagher and Company. They were intending on being here this evening, and then they actually had another city that was going to be in the news evidently about some, a new mayor had taken over for a town right outside of St. Louis, and they had a number of lawsuits where the mayor was suing their different department heads in an effort to try to get them sued, and their meeting was this evening, and unfortunately, theirs took a little more preference over ours, but I do have the information on what they've provided to us, and they've done a really very, very good job with going to the marketplace for our general property and liability insurance. You have two packets of information in front of you. One is called the low deductible option, and the other one is called the high deductible option. I'll first give you the overview on the low deductible option. This is basically the same type of policy the city has had in the past, regardless of the carrier that we've had. There's been varying amounts of deductibles that we've carried over time, but this is very much apples to apples what we have had, especially over the last year and a half with NPR. You can see on going past the front page, the second page in, our existing premium that we've paid for the 2014-2015 year. We run July 1st to June 30th every year. That existing premium is $186,989. Our renewal premium actually has decreased by 3% to $182,207. You'll get to that last box. It may sound confusing, and it says total projected savings. What Gallagher has done for us is they've gone back and done a historical review of our losses as compared to our deductibles that we've had in place at the time. They were able to go back 5.5 years, and they've projected out what that loss would be, and since when you add up where that would be compared to last year, the actual percentage savings, if losses were comparable, would be at 5% for this year. The one thing to pay attention on this particular policy, not only is our premium lower by 3%, but also our actual deductibles, and I'm going back 2 pages, are actually less than what they had been in the past. NPR got very aggressive this year. They really felt like they wanted to keep us as a insured, so they really sharpened their pencil and gave us not only a better premium, but also they lowered our deductible. For instance, on property, what was a $10,000 deductible that we currently carry, that deductible has been lowered to $2,500. Deductible for general liability was at $5,000, has been lowered to $1,000. Auto liability policy used to be a $5,000 deductible. Under the renewal would lower to $1,000 deductible. Same for inland marine. It's currently a $5,000 deductible. That would also be lowered to $2,500. The other policies, law enforcement, public officials, those would stay the same as they've been before, $5,000 deductibles. Everything is fully valued. We meet the Missouri tort cap, which is just near $3 million per claim. We also have a $1 million per occurrence umbrella that would go on top of that. And one other thing with this particular policy, when we entered into NPR's program a year and a half ago, one of the things that they did for us is they came in and did an evaluation appraisal of all of our facilities. That resulted in our property values going up significantly. They've also increased our limit to $67,927,790. That is significantly higher than what we're currently insured for. So we got lower deductibles, higher limits on property, and our premium came down to $182,207. On the third page of the pamphlet, you'll also see the other quotations we've gotten from other companies. We did get 3 good quotes for this year. NPR, of course, Brit, which is a newer company which I was unfamiliar with, but evidently they're very strong in the municipal market. They came in with a nice quote, and then One Beacon, who has also quoted the city in previous years, they also quoted as well for this year. So that would be, that particular program at the $182,000 premium is very, very similar to what we have done over time. We've very much been in line with this type of a program. The other program that the brokers had brought to us was what's referred to as a high deductible option. This is a program that many cities getting near the 20,000 population range and above like to go to. This assumes a greater risk than what we've taken in the past. You'll see on the second page of that brochure, again, our existing premium. The renewal premium, if we up our deductible to $25,000, our renewal premium would go down by 21% to $147,185. Total projected savings, again, when you take into account what our losses have been, our historical losses have been, and you plug that into this particular program, this would show what our actual annual savings would be, and what would be projected for this year would be a 9% savings over what we're currently paying. The couple of differences in this program, of course, being $25,000 deductible, unlike the lower deductible policy, that is per incident. So if you have a tornado that comes through town and damages squad cars and a couple different buildings, and maybe some of our equipment gets damaged, every deductible would apply for each individual policy. In this particular case, it's a $25,000 deductible, and that's per incident. So you don't have per policy deductibles, you have per incident deductibles. So if you did have that catastrophic situation, we would be covered with a $25,000 deductible. The other thing to point out is over the last 5.5 years, our projected or historical losses have averaged $7,931. Of course, if we take a larger deductible, we're going to have those increased by a little bit, and that is where the 9% savings comes in. One thing I can tell you from the broker's perspective, if the city decides to go with a higher risk policy, they highly recommend that the city is ready to make that commitment to go down that road, because you may have, and knock on wood this doesn't happen, but we may have a bad 2015 and 2016 where our losses would be greater than what we would typically see, but over time, historically, will show that we are going to be better off with that higher deductible, lower premium policy. We will save money over time. We would just need to commit to it over the long term, and not just bouncing it for 1 year, see how it goes, and come back to it, to another policy a different year. Both policies are very competitively priced. As you can see, the only other policy that a company that bid a $25,000 high deductible policy was Brit. Their policy came in at $215,000 versus the $147,000 that NPR quoted us. So NPR did come through with, on both sides, lower and higher deductible with a good quality premium.
Thank you, sir. With that, before we get to discussion, this is another item that will need a suggestion or a motion for either a high deductible or a low deductible. So keep that in mind as we go through discussion. Mr. Clickenberry, kick it off, sir.
You bet. The high deductible plan is similar to what an HSA plan would be on the health side. Typically, when you do something like that, you have a plan in place to set so your savings aside, at least for a couple of years, until you get a fund up to, in our case, maybe 50 or 100,000 or whatever you want. Do we have any kind of plan to set that savings aside so we can be paying out on, because we'll be paying, if we have incidents, we'll be paying out more than we normally are used to. You could hit.
And that
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's normally
instead of
what
having
is
a
done.
$5,000 thing, you might have a $25,000, so you set some money aside for that big chunk to go out.
Right. We'll, you know, of course, this year we budgeted $186,000 for our insurance. We would go ahead and budget the same amount of money and then take that difference and put that in a reserve account.
Okay, so
we could-
40,000 that we would save
Yeah.
roughly,
$35,000.
and you put that reserve account, would you increase that each year until we got it to a comfortable level, say 100,000, and then after that you can back off on your budget, you know, a few years down the road?
Yeah, and that would be a budgetary decision.
What would your goal be on that reserve budget?
Well,
Or
I
they
think
recommend it?
if you have, I mean, the tornado scenario would be, I think, not a good scenario, but I think you'd have to consider at least 4 times your deductible to be at a comfortable
That's
range,
what
so
I
that
was
would be at about $100,000. That's what was recommended, again, by the brokers as well.
Sure.
Budget
That's what I
the
thought.
higher amount, take the difference and put it in a reserve account. You put it in every year, and if you have a number of good years in a row, you'll get your reserve up to where you want it. If you're not, you'll still have that nest egg to fall back on.
Right. I mean, I obviously think long-term that's the way to go. I'm glad that that plan's in place to keep that reserve fund, because that's where people usually, like on the health side, that's where they make the mistake, is they get that savings and they don't put any of it away, and then they get hit and go, oh my goodness, that's a big deductible. So we gotta be smart and have that reserve. Do they recommend that we go that direction now? Because it looks to me like that's a pretty good option.
They did not make a recommendation, other than they felt NPR had the best premium for either policy. So, of course, their recommendation is that we continue to maintain NPR as our carrier.
Sure.
They did not want to come forward and say, do this one or the other. They merely said, when you get to the size of Republic, you start nearing that $20,000 or 20,000 population range, typically cities will start taking on more of a risk. And again, it's all on your finances. We have very strong financials, so you know we're able to take on a little bit more risk without too much cause for concern. So I wouldn't be as worried about that. But they like this type of a program. They think it's beneficial. They think we're going to go to it eventually. Whether it's right for us in 2015, we don't know, but they do believe that over time we'll eventually get to that point where this will be our best option.
Any other questions for Mr. Krischke? I just did. The baton was passed. Did you see that?
I'll make a motion then on the high deductible plan.
I'll second that.
Did you hear that? There's a motion on the table for the high deductible plan, and we have a second.
I have a motion and a second for high deductible plan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Okay, that portion carries.
Sorry, did we need to make a motion for the carrier too?
That's in the resolution, so this motion would just have filled in the blank.
Okay, so the NPR is already in the resolution.
Yes.
NPR's
Okay,
already
all
in.
right, thank you, that's all.
Additional comments, questions, discussion? As the item stands now. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Carter. On the next item on the agenda, resolution number 15-R-42, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, awarding a bid for a compact sport utility vehicle and authorizing the purchase thereof. I'd like to have a motion.
Motion. Second.
A motion and a second. Welcome, Mr. Brock. Give us the overview, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a budget execution for replacement of a 2004 Ford Ranger. We went through a sealed bid process, solicited bids for either 2015 or 2016 model year Ford, Chevrolet, GMC, or Jeep compact sport utility. We only received bids on Ford Escapes. As you see in the table there, our low bidder was Republic Ford Lincoln for a 2016 model year with a bid price of $22,329. We had budgeted for this purchase $22,500. We are recommending that the award go to Republic Ford Lincoln for the 2016, but are also suggesting that we purchase the option to have the vehicle equipped with a V6 engine. That comes at a cost of $1,195, and we think that we will get more than that out of the sale of the 2004 Ford to cover that cost difference.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Brock? Mr. Wilson? I knew you'd I knew you'd have one.
I'm curious about the price difference between the 15 and the 16.
I'm no expert. My understanding, Gary, is that when a vehicle leaves the factory, it's been purchased. And with the 2015s that we got bids on, they were not able to get the fleet discounts that they can get when ordering directly to the factory. And you'll see that in the delivery time. The vehicles that were in stock, essentially they located that on another lot somewhere in the state, and they had to pay whatever that dealer was willing to trade the vehicle for. With the 2016, if they order from the factory, they get all the factory discounts, all the manufacturer's discounts available for fleet sales, and then they simply have to add their overhead and profit to that.
Okay. Mr. Harder?
You're good on the 10 to 12 weeks?
Yes. If need be, if we have a mechanical problem with that 04, we've got some spare vehicles we can shuffle around to...
Right.
Additional questions, comments, discussion?
Who's he go to St. Louis and get that?
We just have to go down the road. So,
Mr. Harder, notice it says Republic Ford in Lincoln.
I didn't know if they
Located in the city of
Well, they
Republic.
gotta bring it in, I'm just thinking.
Additional questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
I get Charlie a road trip.
You could probably ride on the back of the carrier and
We'll have to
Rock, they'd say the
enlighten
break-in
Chief Lawton on that little escapade. Well, the next item, resolution number 15-R-43, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the extension of a license agreement with the Southwest Missouri Office on Aging, SMOA, for services at the Republic Senior Friendship Center. Like to have a motion?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Welcome, Mr. Keeling. Give us the overview, sir.
Thank you. This is our annual one-year extension with the Southwest Missouri Office of Aging. We are the owner of the Republic Senior Center at 210 East Hines. This agreement more or less continues this agreement we've had over there for a long, long time to extend their services to our seniors. Good working relationship with them. They did just lose their director over there. They're in the process. They're going to fill that position back, but they do a tremendous job over there. They spend about $110,000 annually, federal funding, state funding, to support their services over there, and would definitely recommend another extension with them. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Keeling?
Keep the city officials off the street.
Exactly.
I didn't hear what he said. I guess it wasn't pertinent.
keep the seniors off the street.
Cannot wait for election time. Anyway, any additional pertinent questions, comments, discussions? It's a great program, Jared. Appreciate you guys continually putting this together. Appreciate the department working with us so well. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? That motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
With that, thank you, sir. Without anything else, we'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.